Okay, here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome in to the Week 1 playoff edition of the TSF GamePlan show. My name is Safwan Alvi. I will be your host, and I am joined, as always, by my partner in crime, TriState Football writer, contributor, and friend, Brandon Lampley. And again, we are TriStateFootball.com. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms on Twitter and Instagram at TS Football. Again, that's at TS Football. You can also like us on Facebook and subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Just type in TriStateFootball.com on the search bar. And you can also listen to our coaches' interviews pregame and postgame and all of our pregame shows, all of there, anywhere you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and you can read Brandon's work, the best bets on TriStateFootball.com, right? Just go to TriStateFootball.com and the best bets will be right on that main page. And during the Friday night lights, you can go to TriStateFootball.com/scores to see all of the scores from Southwest Ohio, Eastern Indiana, and Northern Kentucky. And we are excited now to be in week 1 of the playoffs, right, Brandon? We have been leading up to this moment, right, for weeks on end, talking about teams winning conferences, teams fighting for playoff positioning, right, teams fighting for their playoff lives. But now that's all said and done. The dust has settled, and we are in for the playoffs. And it's going to be Halloween this year, right? Friday night Halloween. So we're excited for that, right? It's going to be a spooky Friday, right? A lot of trick-or-treating happening maybe before, during, and after the game, whatever your plan is, right? And I'm excited to get into our first game, Brandon, because we got a lot of teams playing in the first round of the playoffs that are very familiar with each other, right? We're talking conference matchups all over the place, right? We have a lot of first-round buys over here in Division 1, Region 4, right? We got Elder, Moeller, Say next on a bye, right? I believe Whitten Woods is also, no, Princeton, excuse me. Princeton is on that bye, and then Whitten Woods will be playing later on this week. I do want to jump into our first game, a GMC matchup in the 9-8 slot. What a fun game this is going to be. Two teams coming in at 5-5 into the playoffs. Number 9, Mason, right, taking on number 8 Fairfield, right? And these rankings are based off their playoff rankings, right? For those of you wondering, this number 9 and number 8 and et cetera, will be their playoff rankings, right? So Mason taking on Fairfield, and it's a GMC matchup. We're talking playoffs, so let me know what you're thinking in this GMC showdown.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to this game. I feel like it will be an ugly game, so to speak. A lot of running the ball, a lot of tough defenses. And I'm looking for Mason to really lean on quarterback D'Angelo Birch. Um, he's about 4th in the league in rushing this year, also a capable passer. But I feel like they're really going to lean on his legs to try to, move the sticks, control the game, and, come out with a win. Fairfield won the first meeting at Fairfield 14-13. And this could be a similar type of game that's kind of just rough, mucky, defense really, stepping up. And, for Fairfield, they got a freshman running back in Corius Booker. He's had a good season, almost 600 yards rushing, and a big tackler on their side, Gabe Ross. And I also forgot to mention one of the best tacklers in the GMC, Alex Brown for Mason, 88 tackles. Again, I see this one as a tough, close game, but this time I'm going to pick Mason to get the victory.
Yeah, as you mentioned, these two teams played in week 7. This game was at Fairfield, 14-13. I do expect, Brandon, this game to be very close, right? When looking at that game, and this is something you can look at because this is not something that happened in week 1, right? Week 2, where the teams are really trying to figure each other out, right? Where it's only a couple weeks away from this game that already happened. So it's going to be a very similar game. I noticed in this game, Mason did turn the ball over, right? They did, have one turnover. Fairfield did not turn the ball over. That kind of was a big point in this game, right? Winning the turnover battle. And when you win by 1 point, that's a big deal, right? Mason had more rushing yards, right? In total yards, Fairfield did have more, right? But passing yards, Fairfield has more as well. But Mason controlled the ground game, right? They averaged 3.4 yards a carry, 146 yards rushing. And right, the big thing was that turnover. And Fairfield did have more penalties, right? So a lot of self-inflicted wounds for Fairfield in that first game with the penalties and with the turnover. And Brandon, yes, like you said, the playmakers are going to have to be big because these two teams are very evenly matched, 5-5 coming in. It's going to be a coaching battle, right? One turnover here, right? One missed pass, one incompletion. That's basically going to be the difference, and it's going to be a close game either way.
Yeah, and I won't underestimate the playoff experience of D'Angelo Birch being at Princeton the last couple years, playing in some big time games deep into the playoffs, and I think that really stands out this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Both teams are looking for that first playoff win, right? It's the 9-8 matchup, right? Fairfield versus Mason. One team will move on, and then one team's season will come to an end. Brandon, I do want to move on to our next game right here, talking a little Division Two, Region 8, right? How about number 12 Turpin taking on number 5 LaSalle over here in Division Two, right? Here's a Turpin team, right? The record may not be the prettiest record, but they've played some good football over the past 5 to 6 weeks, right? 5 wins, and then they're taking on number 5 LaSalle, whose only losses, right, were in the GCL South. Right, they lost to Elder, they lost to Moeller, they lost to X, and those teams over there in Division One, Region 4 are the top 3 seeds. Everyone else on the schedule, LaSalle did beat Brandon, which has to pose well for the Lancers going into the playoffs.
Yeah, that's what the advantage for LaSalle, has been for, a while now. Playing down in Division 2, they've kind of seen a lot of good football throughout the season, battling those teams. And I mean, when you look at the number 1 seed in Region 4, Elder, I mean, that was a tough nip and tuck game with LaSalle, so they're going to be a hard out to beat. I look at Avier Carter. He's a dual threat quarterback. Has been playing well this year. Also, David Malone out of the backfield. And they got Wooldridge and Porter on the defensive side. I really think, LaSalle is going to be feeling like, they can make a run as a 5 seed. I feel like they're going to be feeling like they can make a run. And when you look at Turpin, they do have talent. Luke Milam, the quarterback, he's a dual threat guy. Uh, Great at passing, great at running. He's got some great targets and Poland and Overholzer that can do damage. And, they got some big time defensive players too. And Nickerson, he's got 111 tackles, and Gillespie, 92 tackles. So, and they played, tough all season long. So they won't back down from the challenge. I think this will be a little tough on them though, and I'll take LaSalle.
Yeah, Turpin's been playing some good football as of late. I know I did mention that, but if you're looking at their schedule, right, even though they did lose 3 in a row in weeks 6, 7, and 8, or excuse me, 7, 8, and 9 before they won against Milford 36-19 last week, against Kings, who's one of the top seeds in Division Two, and then against Lebanon, who's a good team as well. They only lost Brandon by a few points. The Lebanon game was 41-38, right? It was a lot of points. They were close in that game. And then Kings, right, who's one of the best teams in Division Two, they lost that game 38-26, right? So that's kind of read between the lines with this Turpin team. They're playing their best football now. And again, it is going to be a tall task, but I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I think Turpin could keep this game close for at least for the first half, especially with the confidence that they're playing with.
Yeah, they could keep it close, for a half, I think.
Brennan's like,
Kind of
Brennan
like
said
you said.
maybe. He said they maybe might be able to keep it close.
Maybe. But again, like I said, I see a collision course. LaSalle, they almost got lucky as the 5 seed to stay away from Anderson as long as possible.
Yep.
That one extra round, and I think they could be on the collision course to match up with them. So uh, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I do. Yes, I am going to roll with LaSalle right here. But again, Turpin, I think for a quarter or two, don't be surprised if they do keep this game close. I do want to move on to our next division, region, and game. Let's talk some Division 4 Region 16 ball, right? Over a team that is currently a number 7 seed when we're used to seeing them as a 1, 2, or 3 seed, right? I'm talking about the Wyoming Cowboys, right? They're 9-1 as a 7 seed. That just gives you the story how deep this Division 4 Region 16, is one of the best in the entire state of Ohio. Wyoming, they're going to be taking on Roger Bacon coming in as the 10 seed, right? So it's the 10-7 matchup. Roger Bacon coming in at 5-5. Wyoming again 9-1. Brandon, let me know what you're thinking about these Wyoming Cowboys, right? They got Indian Hill in the Division 4 Region 16, who they lost to, right? Their one loss this season. You got Taft, right, who looks like an absolute juggernaut, right? They got a bye week this week, as does the other teams. Let me know what you're thinking with this Wyoming team, and can they make a deep run of this playoffs?
Yeah, when I look at this first round game, I'm looking at Wyoming to lean on Jackson Hamilton. He's a two-way player. He's a 800-yard rusher, 12 touchdowns, also 78 tackles on the defensive side of the ball. And I feel like he can have his prints all over this game. And when you look at the quarterback, David Dupe, connecting with Brylan Miltenberger at wide receiver. If you come down into that box too much, I think Wyoming has a, good chance to move on. But Roger Bacon, they've shown some flashes with Bubba Smart and Jameer Mitchell out of the backfield. Evan Otto, a wide receiver. They got a player by the name of Max Hoffman, has 72 tackles on the season. So they have some good players, and I could see this being high scoring. Possibly, but I think Wyoming. I think they're ready to take a step, get to that next round, see if maybe they can create, some of that magic that they've had in the past. Um, I know that there'll be a tough, who's a two seed there, and there'll be a tough second round game for them, but you
The
never
two
know.
seed in Division Four, Region 16.
Yeah.
I believe it's Indian Hill. It's either Indian Hill or Taft. Those are the top two seeds in Division Four, Region 16.
So yeah, that it'd be a rematch with them. I know they'd be looking forward to that, and sometimes in those games you never know what can happen. So I'll take Wyoming in this one.
Yeah. And the Wyoming factor, they are a lot better than their number 7 seed would tell you, right? As you mentioned, they're 9-1. They've won just about every single game. Indian Hill was their only loss, right? I think Roger Bacon might be a little bit better than their 10 seed, but I think between 8, 9, and 10 is a good ranking for them.
Mhm.
I don't think there is a why. I mean, Taft looks almost unbeatable at this point. They kind of look like they've separated themselves, but Indian Hill has looked awesome too. But Brandon, I'm not so sure if Wyoming and Indian Hill played again that Wyoming doesn't beat them, right? Because of the coaching experience,
Exactly.
right? Aaron Hancock has been there. He's done that. The young players on Wyoming, right? A lot of them that you mentioned, they're continuing to get better. Right? They're a much better team than when they were, all those weeks ago playing Indian Hill, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if Wyoming goes on to win 2 and 3 playoff games.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you get in the playoffs and you get back to that familiarity with teams and Indian Hill, Wyoming, their scheme, their players, how the game's gonna go. So yeah, some of those type of upsets can happen. So yeah, Wyoming, they could definitely make a run.
Absolutely. And I do want to move on to our next game again. That's going to be a really good game. Talking some more small school football right here. I do want to talk about Marymount taking on, I got my matchup right here. Marymount taking on North College Hill, right? This is Marymount versus North College Hill against some small school action. Number 11, Marymount taking on North College Hill. Marymount coming in at 6-4 through their 10 games. And North College Hill, Brandon, having a kind of historically good season over there. And good for this team, right? They've unfortunately North College Hill, they've lost a lot of games over these past, handful of years. They've gone through some rough times. But this year they're 8-2, right? They've won most of their games. They're playing some good football. Talk to me about the season that they've had and, taking on Marymount. Do they have a good chance to win this playoff game?
Yeah, North College Hill, great season, great athletes out there. Arnell Carr at the quarterback position, 2,100 yards passing, 18 touchdowns. Spiller, over 1,000-yard rusher. Allen, over 1,000-yard receiver. And they got a guy by the name of Anthony Branch on the defensive side of the ball, 114 tackles, 15 and a half sacks. Just a incredible season on the defensive side of the ball. But Marymount, we just talked about CHL action, and I think they are tested. They finished fourth in the league, losing to Indian Hill, Wyoming, and I believe Taylor as well. But they got some good players, and Griezmer, uh, he's got 120 tackles. Their defense has been uh, their strong point, I guess you could say. Jack Simpson, 15 sacks. Ryan Cruz, 6 sacks. And Robinson has 4 INTs, and Quayne Bow has 3 INTs. So they can take the ball away. They can make things happen. This is my upset pick of the week. North College Hill, the 2 games they've lost have been to Summit Country Day and Cincinnati Country Day. I think Marymount kind of fits in that mold of teams that can take them down. and I'm going to go with the Warriors on the road.
Yeah, and this is probably going to be a very popular upset pick with North College Hill. They've definitely played their better ball earlier in the season, kind of those weeks 2 through 5, 2 through 6. That's when they were playing their best ball. They're playing a little bit not as sharp now. But again, even if North College Hill loses, right, there's a good chance they win. But as you mentioned, it's an upset pick. They've had a great season, right? It's been a great bounce back. They've been one of the best stories in the entire tri-state area, winning 8 games, feeling good about themselves. I think they have a good program for the future too, Brandon, right? This could be a stepping stone for North College Hill becoming a really solid program.
Yeah, I agree. And they could shut me up really fast with a good win and move on to the next round and see what they can do. They have the talent to do it, but
Mhm.
we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Again, that is Division 5, Region 20, right? For those of you wondering, this Marymount North College Hill game, Division 5, Region 20, the 11 versus 6 matchup. All right, Brandon, before we get out of here, we got to do some rapid fire picks, right? We'll kind of go through some of our big ones right over here in Ohio, and maybe if we got time, we'll do some Northern Kentucky as well. We'll do them real quick. Right? I do want to go back to Division 1, Region 4, right? We got some big matchups. A lot of the big teams are not playing. But we got number 5, Witten Woods, the first team that didn't have a bye, taking on number 12, Little Miami, right? Coach Mahan has done a good job over there. Witten Woods versus Little Miami. Who you got?
Warriors.
Yeah, very simple. Yeah, Warriors.
Plain and
Yeah,
simple.
defense is going to carry that game. I think they win that game defensively. Big time win for Witten Woods. Moving on. How about number 11, Oak Hills, taking on number 6, Lakota East, after that dominating performance against Lakota West to end the season? How about Tom Bolden losing his first ever game to Lakota West? Lakota East, Brandon's riding high. You think they pick up that first win in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think Coach Kidner, they've got the team playing well. They're gonna ride her hooks, no pun intended, until they can't any longer. 35, 40 carries if necessary. I'll take East at home.
Absolutely, I agree. Lakota East wins that game. They continue to ride that momentum. And then how about their counterpart, Lakota West, 6-4, right? A Tom Bolden led team is 6-4. That is something we do not hear ever, right? They're the number 7 seed taking on number 10 Hamilton. It's going to be at Lakota West. Who do you got?
I like the Firebirds in this one. Crazy. You said 6-4. I think they still got a chance to make a run. They got a big boost from Braden Johnson coming back to play football in week 10, and kind of still getting his feet wet last week. Probably be a little better to go this week, so that gives them another weapon to use. And Hamilton second straight, I think, in the playoffs. Playing well, got that big win over Middletown. I think this will just be a little bit too much. I'll take Lakota West.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if Lakota East wins 3 games, even though they were 6-4. Tom Bolden, been there, done that. Braden Johnson coming back, right? If Jackson Smith plays to his ability and the defense plays well, they can go and win 2 and 3 games. So that's very, very interesting to see kind of how that goes. And I do want to jump over to Division 2, Region 8, right? We talked about some of the big games happening here. How about number 11, Aiken at 6-4, taking on number 6, Lima Senior, right? We don't see Lima Senior a lot, but we have seen Aiken. Who do you think wins this game?
I think Lima Senior wins this game for the simple fact that's a 3-hour trip up there to Lima, and that's going to be hard to they used to be in the GMC years ago when all these teams had to travel up there. It usually resulted in an L, and I feel the same way this year, so I'll take Lima Senior.
Absolutely. Just one more game, that number 9 versus number 8 matchup over there in Division 2, Region 8. Piccowa, they're going to have to come down to Cincinnati, taking on Withrow, who's 8-2, right? That's an 8-2 team. That's a number 8 seed. You like Withrow in this game? You like the Tigers?
I like Withrow, yeah. Losses to LaSalle and Taft. Those are 2 pretty good teams, and I think they're pretty dominant against everybody else. I think speed's a factor in this one. Uh, a lot of speed on the field for Withrow, and I'll take them moving on, and they'll have a date with Anderson.
Yep, absolutely. Got a big game coming down. I do want to hit that Region 16 over there in Division 4 one more time because it's going to be a good game, possibly. Number 12, Taylor, taking on number 5, Clinton Massey, right? Clinton Massey coming in at 9-1. Again, in this Division 4 Region 16. You can throw the rankings, the seeds out the window. Clinton Massey's 9-1, right? You have Brookville at number 6, 9-1. But this is a little bit of a local game, right? So Taylor versus Clinton Massey, who you got?
Oh, I like the Falcons big time in this one. Big time running game. Coach McShirley out there. He's gonna have them rolling. Clinton Massey. They get past this one, you know, and they get Taft or somebody. I think that could be a little tricky, when they're running that football. They got three tough backs with speed, with physical power. They run that triple option look that not many teams are doing any longer, and that can mess with teams. So uh, I think Clint Massey big this week, and I'm interested to see what's going on in week 2 of the playoffs.
Absolutely good. Before we get out of here, there are some Northern Kentucky teams I do want to show some love to. Again, we don't know a lot of the teams that they're playing. They're not a lot of local teams, but obviously, Brandon, feel free to give me any insight that you got. How about Class 6A over there in Northern Kentucky? Central Hardin coming to Ryle. How do you like that game?
I like the Raiders. Jacob Savage, that's my guy. I've been liking what he brings on both sides of the ball. And, Ryle, I think they're ready to make another run, possibly, back to the championship.
Yeah, Ryle's another team that their ranking, or excuse me, their record doesn't exactly show how good they are. I think Ryle's going to play their best game, starting in the playoffs, and I think they have a chance again to make a deep run right there. So I do have Ryle winning this game. Class 2A, I think me and you can both agree that Martin County at Beechwood, I think we both got Beechwood winning that game. There's a lot of state championships over there at Beechwood, so we both agree on that. Beechwood wins that game big. How about Class 4A? There's a lot of good teams over here in Class 4A. Boyd County at Covington Catholic, right? Covcath, one of the favorites over there in Class 4A. We've got the Colonels winning game 1.
Yeah. I'll take the Colonels in round 1. Again, another team that's looking to get back down there to Kroger Field. Cash Harney, he's a great quarterback, can do it with his legs and arms, and I'll take Covcath.
Yeah, and then last one, maybe a little bit of an upset, even though it is going to be here at home. Class 6A, Oldham County taking on Simon Kenton, right? This is a Simon Kenton team, pretty volatile Simon Kenton team. They've won some games, but they've lost a lot of their big games. You think Simon Kenton can pull this off, or do you have Oldham County in this game?
I'm not really familiar with Oldham County, so I'll take the Pioneers, local team, to get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. We're pulling for Simon Kenton in this game, right? It is a home game, so maybe they can score some points. We know Simon Kenton always plays a little bit better when their offense is playing well or when they're scoring a lot of points. In terms of Lawrenceburg, how about Lawrenceburg and Franklin County, right? It's the game of the week. We know Lawrenceburg is playing real good football. They've won about 10 games in a row going into the playoffs. We kind of know how that goes. They take that rough loss to East Central in week 1, and then they just go on this massive run, and they're looking good. You like Lawrenceburg to continue their playoff run right here?
Yeah, I'll take the Tigers. Great coaching. Coach been there a long time, and doesn't have his son anymore, but still got a great team, and I'll take the Tigers.
Yeah, I think Lawrenceburg is really, really good this year. We know that. I think they have a chance to go to Lucas Oil, Brandon. I really do. Their offense, their defense, they're playing their best ball yet. I wouldn't be surprised if we, over here in a couple weeks on Thanksgiving weekend, we're talking about Lawrenceburg possibly going to Lucas Oil Stadium, right? They are that good, and they're going to be a tough out any way you put it. All right, that's going to be it for us. We're going to get out of here for the night. We will be back next week because we're going to have some big matchups to talk about, right? We're going to have a lot of the big boys to discuss, the Molders of the world, Elders, Andersons, right? A lot of the teams that are on a first-round bye this week, they are going to be in action next week. And, of course, a lot of the teams that we discussed here as well. Remember, you can read Brandon's full Best Bets article at TriStateFootball.com. It should be right there at the front page. And be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms, right? Twitter and Instagram at TS Football. Again, we appreciate everyone listening. We'll be back next week. Everybody enjoy the playoffs. Have a happy Halloween, happy and safe. Again, we'll talk to you next week. For Brandon and Safwan, Alvi for TriStateFootball.com. We will see you guys next week on the TSF Game Plan Show.